It is game time, baby. Just call this our Super Bowl, and we are Tom Brady because it is election season. We have 2 weeks to go. And guess what? If it's news to you, you're going to hear names quite frequently in the coming weeks, i.e., Elon Musk, Kamala Harris, Donald Trump, sending off the YouTube flags on stat. Okay, on cue. Kim Kardashian, Taylor Swift, etc. But how far away from these great people, great subjective, people of influence are you actually? You have all heard of the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. The theory that you are only 6 or less links away from anybody on the planet. Today, we're going to go on a little journey, okay? Just call me Willy Wonka in a tunnel because we are going to be playing the 6 degrees or less of Talk to Me Taylor. And further looking at these people of influence, not only are they closer to us than we really think, but how, in fact, they really change our perceptions of the world in this Willy Wonka chocolate podcast factory and beyond. Come with me, children, on this journey in the non-creepiest way. In the safe Halloween festivities, okay? Like not the creepy truck passing out candy to the kids. This is Talk to Me Taylor.
Deemed the celebrity whisperer by Playboy.
This is the best interview of the day.
Thanks for having me.
You hit the nail on the head.
100%.
Period, yeah.
Touch them. They're cracking me up.
Wear them, baby. This is good.
Taylor Ferber.
Okay, so like I said, it is go time. And the election, by the time that this gets posted, it's about give or take 2 weeks, right? So it is game on like Donkey Kong. Everybody is pulling out the stops. We have Kamala Harris, who is going up. Like you would think that this lady, I mean, it kind of is a PR junket promoting her greatest acting role of our time, but you would think that this is America's Sweethearts with Billy Crystal, Catherine Zeta-Jones, every movie junket awkward moment that you have ever seen, because this bitch is pressing hard on the promo trail and bringing Hollywood and celebrities in her orbit along for the ride, okay? She's bringing in people like Megan Thee Stallion, like Lizzo, Billie Eilish, Bruce Springsteen, and John Legend. You know, a little sidebar, but when we speak about this 6 degree game here that I got going on for you today, like it is like the Twister moment of our time. Can we even play Twister anymore? I don't know, because it may be a Me Too moment in the making, you know, with consensual or non-consensual touching. But I actually, you all know my Chrissy Teigen story. So I have a 1st degree, not only with Chrissy, but with John Legend himself. Fun little sidebar. I actually interviewed him in person, like on his lap, after the whole Chrissy Teigen controversy. If you don't know, I called out Chrissy Teigen in an op-ed years ago. She tried to get me fired. It was a whole national news story. It was a whole thing. And then cut to, I sat next to her, also on her lap, like braiding her hair at the Emmys. Not actually braiding her hair because I didn't divulge it was me. I'm not trying to be 0.5 degrees of separation from these people, okay? But yes, 1 degree from both of them. And I actually am 1 degree from Kevin Bacon, who I talked about earlier, because I've interviewed him before. I tried to go in the depths, like Johnny Depp into a treasure chest. We're going to talk about Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. Don't you worry. To find my interview with Kevin Bacon, but just know I have a photo. It says it all. It is the moment. No, but he actually was, he was a good guy. Like, Footloose, Kenny Loggins, let's go Footloose and do this. No qualms with Kevin Bacon, but there's my 1st degree connection there. The thing that's interesting about this, to bring it back to Kamala, you know, and her like clown car of cronies, is that do we really care what these celebrities think? I mean, no offense, right? And this is something that I've talked about on my show often. Like, this is these are the big important, you know, questions, you know? Like the Socrates with tits of our time. This is the stuff that keeps me up at night is, do we give these celebrities that much merit and credit and clout when it like, is it a stay in your lane moment? Like, this isn't Mario Kart, stay in your lane. We have an acting, artist, singing, whatever, TikToking, whatever it is, right? To be discussed at a later time and has been discussed previously. But are we really intimidated and that worried? Or their opponents, moreover, like, ooh, John Legend is, I'm really worried about what he has to say, or Billie Eilish. Like, who gives a fuck, right? Nobody. Not a single person in the crowd. Like, I can hear the janitors cleaning. I can hear the crickets chirping. But when you look at the flip side, right, like there is no conservative that is concerned right now about what Billie Eilish has to say, no offense. But when you look at the flip side, you have Elon Musk, who actually, as much as many probably hate this, he is a celebrity in his own right? Who has gone so hard, okay? Go big or go home, like boys out, balls out on Trump. Literally, this guy. And because he has so much influence and because people actually do care what Elon Musk has to say, they be shaking in their low boots. So an example is, if only SpaceX, like really get on it, guys, because you aren't, revolutionizing our world enough, like reinventing everything, in science and tech. If only they had a time portal when I could go back to my days at Penn State in Happy Valley as a tour guide, because guess what? My tour guide ass will be all up on this shiz because guess who is so committed to the cause? Their ass has transported themselves straight into the depths of Battleground State, Pennsylvania, but Elon Musk, okay? This guy's so committed to Trump winning because, Pennsylvania is going to be a huge indicator of this election because it's a swing state. So this guy has picked up. He has said, kiss my ass to Gavin Newsom many of times, as have I. Like, we have so much in common, Elon and I. I mean, really, it's just destined to happen one day, guys. I actually have 2 connections that are second degrees from me and Elon, which I'm getting to. And brought his ass over to Pennsylvania to help sway things, right? And, like, honestly, just call him a Hawaiian belly dancer because this guy is trying to sway the people. This mesmerized, maybe not his hips, but with his quips, okay? But it's causing a lot of controversy because he is doing things like incentivizing people to vote and being like, I will put you in a raffle and the winner gets $1 million if you register to vote for Republican, basically. It's business, bitch. What do you expect? You didn't become Elon for nothing. Don't hate the hustler, hate the game, okay? And like money speak. We talk about this show often. What talks louder than money? Okay, just ask Cardi B. I'm sure she's out of her drunken coma by now.
Never, ever drink again.
And the other thing that he's been talking about is like stirring up, the mainstream and liberals hate this, but stirring up the idea of election integrity and how could we forget, but the Dominion voting machines in 2020, I still have PTSD. Don't even say Shaminion, anything that rhymes with Dominion, I don't want to hear it, right? But you have the mainstream like pundits and shows and think pieces galore melting down at this because they're afraid of Elon Musk. Like I said, brains out, dicks out. And he's pulling his dicks out with no stops, no holds bar for all of this. And they're afraid of him because, like I said, they know that he has influence and people actually care and will listen to what he has to say. So much so that you have people like AOC going on these tangents about how dangerous he is and all this. Literally, this lady, couple things here. Number one, okay, she literally described Elon and his whole bribe to get people to register to vote by basically being like, a lucky winner will get $1 million, akin to a stripper. Literally, she's like, these people, they are not us. They are billion. They don't care about us. And in fact, he's so degrading and demeaning that he's basically asking you to shake it for him for $1 million. Like you're just this little like clown toy. I'm improvising, for dramatic effect. But the shake it for you, i.e. the stripper that Elon is asking you to do, is actually what she said. And it's like, okay, why are you trying to make him the equivalent of like a Magic Mike in reverse, like pimp mastermind, okay?
When you have a billionaire just dangling $1 million to those of us and many of us who are struggling to make ends meet if they dance for him.
That's our one. Number two, you would think that you have respect for the stripper, given that you are all about, the little guy in the working class and people who are poor. Not that strippers are poor, actually. We can actually learn something from those bitches because they are hustling, okay? What we may all have to come to if inflation keeps skyrocketing through the fucking roof. So don't knock until you try it, clearly. And something that continuously bothers me about this entire MO, by the way, is AOC's and progressive thing of like, they're mocking you, like Trump and his McDonald's apron and Elon Musk, like they just want to take over the world and own you and own everything and get more rich, and they're mocking you and they don't understand you. It's like, babe, it's giving help me, I'm poor. Like, why would you knock people who, regardless of politics, who have achieved American greatness and the American dream that one can only do in this country, and get super rich and influential and live that dream? But also, like, why are you obsessed with everybody staying and remaining poor? Like, I need answers. But the obvious hypocrisy about this, in all of this is like a little sidebar, but all of the corruption carried out by said side. So, like, is it ethical and moral and legal? Actually, we don't know. Legal experts have chimed in on this for Elon to be like, y'all, I will bribe you. I will put you in the lottery of your lifetime. Like, it is bingo at the senior citizen event. Like, you've never seen you win $1 million. Like, we don't know, right? But all the corrupt shit that they've done, i.e. trying to literally, state by state, states trying to actually execute taking Trump off of the ballot in certain places, like Colorado is what, you know what I mean? And also, let's not forget, in the land of Gavin News loser. Okay, I'm not as quick as Trump with Gavin Newscom, but I tried, okay? A blonde can only try. How Gavin Newsom has now made it illegal to ask for an ID when somebody is voting, i.e. bring the caravans of all the peeps getting in on this action illegally, flooding the borders of Texas and where else from Mexico. Bring them in here. Don't ask for ID. Let's get them to vote for us and get this shit done. So the point is, everybody plays dirty, okay, to the AOC and everybody else. And so if you're going to knock the dirty on one side, you got to knock the dirty on the other side. But no, like, it's all fun and games when it's to your advantage, right? So that's that on that. But I have two second-degree connections to Elon Musk and his influence. One is somebody who is highly, highly influential himself. Regardless of what you think about him, I would say this. The one thing we can all agree on about this man is his laugh and how truly iconic it is. Like, Ursula from The Little Mermaid truly could never. Like, this lady walked so Tucker Carlson could run, okay, and make his stamp on the interweb in this way. Tucker Carlson. And I actually interviewed Tucker Carlson recently, and the reason I say this is a second-degree connection to Elon is because Elon was recently on Tucker Carlson's show on the Tucker Carlson network, which is a very good interview, by the way. And if I do say so myself, like, my colleagues and I discuss, and in the Pulitzer community, no. But I actually talked to John, Freudian slip. By the way, sidebar, Elon Musk, I say this to everybody, he is my dream guest. So if you are doing seances, if you are doing manifestation, if you are doing some super blood wound ritual shit, speak it into being, okay? But when I interviewed Tucker, I talked about how he and I had the commonality of being a little bit of a ball buster and being kind of, fearless and speaking our mind in the media space and often getting censored and shut down and silenced and all this. And I asked him how this environment makes him feel, if it makes him out for vengeance, if it, for the people and the entities and institutions, whether it be outward or subtly censoring and controlling the dialogue, out for vengeance, like they need to pay, or if it makes him scared of what it makes him feel. And he gave me such a thoughtful response, which is, I'm sort of an American brat, like Charlie XCX brat style, because of course it's going to be hard to fight for our freedom of speech. Like, what idiot am I that I thought anything that is worth fighting for would be easy? So, and of course it's worth it, obviously, because if we don't have that, if we don't have these fundamental freedoms, what do we have? Like, what a moment indeed. You know, just Tucker and Taylor, the TTs, T 2.0. Let's get after it.
But mostly I feel like an idiot for thinking that life was anything but struggle and that you could have something as great as we had and not fight every day to preserve it. I don't know how I got lulled into this. Well, it's always going to be this way. It's always been this way. And no smart person ever believed it was true. Therefore, I feel like a freaking idiot.
Tucker Carlson, a freaking idiot?
Well, I think I was.
So that's my 1 second degree to Elon via another influential person. But it is worth noting, right, how Tucker, because this whole episode really is about the people of influence and how they make us take in and view and really sort of decipher and it's a word I'm looking for, translate the world and view the world, right? So another one in a whole kind of other lens of culture, because obviously Tucker is very political, but with pop culture and men and women and Me Too, but Amber Heard. So Amber Heard is my second degree from Elon Musk, because do not forget, okay, I know we are all trying to wipe our memories clean from this shit show that we are residing in day to day. But how could you forget that Amber Heard and Elon Musk dated? I know, you are welcome from that tidbit blast from the past. Like, literally just call me Brendan Fraser, because I just came out of nowhere for her comeback, okay? But that always, in hindsight and after meeting Amber Heard, that whole thing struck me. They strike me as such an odd couple because, and this isn't a knock on Amber Heard, I'm not saying she's dumb, because I've interviewed her. She's very charismatic and calculated and well-spoken in her own way. But Elon Musk is just so brilliant. Although he was with Grimes too, so I don't know, maybe he likes these artsy-fartsy weirdos. But to me, it just always was kind of a mismatch, the odd couple. But let's talk about Amber Heard for a second, because the 2022 Depp Heard trial, heard around the world, is not to be forgotten either. And I actually really do think that it has, for better or worse, shaped the way that we look at Me Too, right? So to take you into this journey, I interviewed Amber Heard on the set of Aquaman in 2017. A, it's while she was married, and B, it was right around in the midst of the famous Washington Post op-ed that she wrote about alleged domestic and sexual assault and abuse and toxic relationship, inferring that it was Johnny Depp without saying his name, which is why the whole defamation suit in later 2022 happened, right? So when the whole trial ensued, when the memes happened, when anyone up to your interpretation shit the bed, okay? But don't forget too, this trial was like the OJ one of our time, because people were just gripped by this shit. But I revisited some of the sentiments she said to me on the Aquaman set. Of all things, about womanhood and being a woman and carrying yourself with honor and with duty. And I asked all about her character, Mara, who's the counterpoint to Jason Momoa's Aquaman. And she talks about all these things. And she said how it was just so interesting reflecting on in hindsight, right? Because, of course, all of it, and we may never know the truth of what happened. You know, the photos can't be unseen, but nonetheless, it was really interesting revisiting her sentiments, because, you know, as she was speaking with me about this, that this was playing on in the back of her head. Like I said, it's while she was married, while she wrote the op-ed, all this. And so just, it's interesting looking at the little nuances. And again, this is why it's so important that we dissect this, because public figures and people of influence, they can live one way in their private lives, say one thing outward, rules for thee, not for me, all kinds of shit. And so at the time, she was talking about how Mara, her character, which she really respected, is how the character kind of grappled with morality and what's right versus wrong and what she wants to do. Whereas Amber Heard was like, I just do what I want to do, like point blank. And it's like, well, yeah, you do, because you just took a doozy in this guy's bed. Like, it just happened. Like, okay, bitch. Like, I mean, I thought I guess slashing tires is so, like, 80s. I don't know. I guess that's old school. But, you know, and again, her whole idea of, you know, she said, in my day-to-day life, I really try to live in every situation with honor and with duty and all this. And again, we don't know the intricacies and the complexities of actually what was going on, right? And who knows? And I do believe that was a mutually abusive and toxic relationship. But it's worth noting, and that's why looking at her sentiments at the time was so fascinating, because she really was getting ragged on. And to this day, Johnny Depp really came out, not only monetarily by getting like $10 million for defamation, and I think she got like $2 million. So he essentially won, right? And he just won like the public court of opinion. But she really got ragged on for sort of grifting off of Me Too, and she was obviously, you know, toxic in her own way and abusive in a certain way. And so, right, when you think about honor and duty, you know, that's kind of interesting. Again, the inner struggle and you know, what actually happened, we won't know. But I feel like that whole thing has changed the perception of Me Too, in that she had played in the court, you know, such a lost and frenetic, you know, victim and you know, just sort of frazzled and in despair and all this, and to coming to find out that she too was, you know, abusive or toxic and did all these things. It just wasn't a good look for Me Too, right? Like, after that, I feel like it made people second guess women, wonder if women were just using and abusing, no pun intended, the movement and being opportunistic and all this. So that's that on that. When you think about, right, how people give a public perception and almost like what they want you to think, believe, do, act. I'm just saying, like Johnny Depp and his beds, I hope to God that wasn't Egyptian cotton. But if it was, something to note about being a little more privy to what all of these people are capable of and what they're capable of doing, right? So similarly to an Elon Musk is Kim Kardashian. And I say this because she may not be sending rockets into space, but she is sending the rockets of her tits into our eyeballs because she's absolutely gorgeous, okay? And of her brains in pursuit of law into action up in that White House, bitch. And so she's a celebrity, of course, I would argue, and I've seen so many people lately say this, Andrew Schultz, what have you, arguably one of the richest, most influential, powerful, famous woman in the world, right? A counterpart to an Elon Musk. And the reason I bring her up is because, like Elon Musk, unlike other celebrities, you can't just write her off, right? When it comes to what she's done with criminal justice reform and with law, she has hit this girl, you know, she's creating a nipple bra one day, you know, for the greater good of mankind. And then she's hitting the books and actually pursuing an education in law. And her work actually did, when it comes to lessening punishments for violent drug crimes and all this. That's why I say it's really hard to dismiss her, because her work actually helped put into action the First Step Act. And like I said, other reform and movement around criminal justice. So that's something to note, because, you know, when people ponder to themselves, again, big, important existential questions here, but the time, like, this will be in history books. But what do the Kardashians do? Like, they don't even have any talent. They just get BBLs and Photoshop them and then flood our feeds with them. But Judge Taylor here, I can be a little judgy. You know, my resting bitch face from New England doesn't sleep. But I'm not giving that RBF to Kim K. I object because, like I said, she is hard to dismiss. She has walked the walk and actually made shit happen when it comes to her influence. And I actually think that that's really commendable. So hardy, hard, laugh all you want. But there's something to be said about that. Unlike her adversary here, like She is, this is actually literally like the Kamala Harris to her Donald Trump with Taylor Swift. But I'll tell you, my degree of Kevin Bacon, Kim Kardashian, I am actually a first degree away from Kim Kardashian because I actually interviewed her. It's so interesting about this too, because again, you talk about public perception, what they do and don't want you to see, do and don't want you to think. Little quick sidebar, but so funny, right? Because they are like Kardashians, like putting their pap smears on TV, basically, like every time they burp or anything it is, like shaking salads, tossing salads may as well, we see it. And yet when I interviewed her, it's while she was married to Kanye, and they were so airtight. They were like, they instilled the fear of God in me. They were like, you cannot, she was promoting a sunglasses line. They were like, you cannot ask her about Sunday service. Those were big at the time. Her marriage to Kanye, da-da-da-da. I was like literally so scared. I was like, okay, like I still want to have my left hand today. So I'm not even going to go there. But the outlet I was working for wanted me to get her to talk about Kanye. And obviously like I was so scared. And so they didn't run my piece, right? But a quick sidebar. So when you talk about influence, it's Kanye West. So my degree would be second through Kanye West because I've met and interviewed Kim and Chris, right? But Kanye, I'm not even going to go down that path. And he's kind of, buzzy right now because there's a potential like big music comeback, an album in the works, and him with the girlfriend with like snake eye titty pasties every other day, wearing like a bullseye over her PP, going out in Balenciaga. I don't even know. And his whole thing with, anti-Semitism and telling Trump he wanted to be part of his administration a couple years ago, and Trump didn't take well to it. That's a whole thing, right? But again, I would argue similarly, it's like, why would we care about what Kanye West thinks politically? Let him be an artist. Like, that is his gift. And this is where it gets really kind of muddled because art and culture, it's like they're sort of one and the same. I also saw a beautiful quote from Andrew Garfield recently about this, and he talks about why art is so important because it allows us to tap into a part of ourselves we wouldn't normally, right, in real life. But that said, keep it to the easiest runway. Okay, we'll dissect that at a later time. But who is also influential, and also why do we care what the fuck they think? But Taylor Swift, who I can't believe, because it's like Taylor Swift, she's so untouchable. And like you would think that all of us, incredibly magnetic and talented Taylors have a secret Illuminati club where we get together every week. No. But so larger than life, I'm thinking, how would I ever be connected to Taylor Swift? Well, guess what, bitch? 2 degrees I am from Taylor because of Kim Kardashian. Now, I'm not going to get into the Kim, Kanye, Taylor Swift feud, but that obviously was a whole big thing. And even Taylor, I think on her latest like Dead Poets Society album, had a thank you, Amy, thank you, Kim moment where she's dissing Kim and that whole thing, right? So basically these two and bad blood, no bueno. But obviously, and I've spoken about this before, but Taylor Swift has come out endorsing Kamala Harris in an Instagram post and all this. And it's like, that's where you can compare and contrast, right? Because it's like, okay, how easy is it to put up a post on your thing of cookies with like Joe Biden sprinkled on them? But that's number one. Unlike Kim, who actually, again, like put in the work, was up in Congress, like was up there making shit happen, like got our girl Alice out of jail, all this. So, okay, how hard is it to put up an Instagram post? And secondly, again, who gives a fuck besides the Swifties who need their own zip code and latitude, longitude at this point, but like who gives a fuck what she thinks? No, I'm sorry. Someone has to say it. Somebody has to say it. And when you listen to a lot of, because obviously like the left will worship all of these people, but the right will go like so hard the extra way where they'll be like, Hollywood is so like toxic and demonic and like sexualized. And I'm not saying it's peaches and cream. I'm not saying it's all dandy and it's Candyland, right? But like it has its, need I say Diddy, like it has its problems. But they view it as like anybody at all in this here is so perverse and so like immoral, blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, that's like a little, you guys are going a little hard. All I have to say is simply who gives a fuck what Taylor Swift thinks? Case in point, like what does she know about hot politics? What does she know about our day-to-day lives? Like, is she up in there shaking and grooving with the salt and fries in McDonald's like Trump in the drive-thru? I don't think so. So that's all I have to say. All of that brings me to my last thoughts here, which are celebrities, they gonna be talking a lot. They don't know anything, but they need the attention. They need the notoriety, okay? they do not know how to, unless they're Harrison Ford, like building his own log cabin in Timbuktu. So they're going to be on this. But the question is how do they choose to use said platform, right? Like, are you going to be a Kim K? Or are you going to be a Taylor Swift? Somebody, and listen, I don't, speaking of Taylor Swift, because this is embroiled in the whole, like, the Chiefs incestual, weird political rectangle hex pentagon of it all, with Britney and Patrick Mahomes. Britney speaking up, Taylor Swift dating Travis Kelce, and, they're all friends and blah, 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 and the Morgan Wallen thing, and Swifties went nuts because Morgan Wallen was with Travis Kelce, a whole thing. But Harrison Butker. And I thought that this was actually really interesting because Harrison Butker, while I've said before, of course, is entitled to his views as an extreme Christian conservative. Many of our views, let's just say this, like, just call it a game of Jenga. I don't know why I'm on the game board thing today, but they don't align. But that's fine. But I actually commend what he did here because he actually joined with Senator Josh Hawley to create a PAC for the Republicans. And so I thought, okay, that's interesting. And by the way, the Chiefs owner was like, more power to him. Like, while the NFL on the whole is like, may the power of Christ compel you, and doing like an exorcism seance because they want to detach and like not be associated, the Chiefs owner was like, great, like, we love diversity of, values and opinions and work and all this. But I thought that was really interesting. It's like, right, instead of just like bitching and moaning about it, and just talking about it, like some people with a red phone on a Wednesday tend to do sometimes, he actually, put it into action, with somebody, in Congress, which, is really interesting to me. So all that to say, you guys, so I guess that would make me, 3 degrees away from Harrison Butker, by the way, because Kim, Taylor, Harrison. So, third time's a charm. But all that to say, these people of great power and influence, on one end of it, they may not be that far away from you. Like all these today and granted, I've interviewed celebrities. Okay, sure. I'm like, sure. Yeah, yada, yada. But they could be 6 connections or links or less away from you. So they're not that far. But don't let that deceive you, okay, in this game of life, because the truth is these people are operating on an entire other level, on another planet, in another realm, with their own rules, without our rules, with immense power, showmanship, embellishment, shall I say. So while all of this is fun and games, as we move forward in this election and beyond, when you think about the people who influence you and change your views of the world, let that be a view, maybe this is after your, Friday night frat party, but let that be a view that really kind of sobers you up.